Imagine a society without fear, without violence, threats, crime, evil, exploitation, and sin. Imagine a community where every person lives openly, honestly, and with compassion. It may sound impossible, but here I would like to explore a vision that could bring us exactly that. We often talk about the world's problems as if they are too big, too complex, too ingrained to solve. But what if we're wrong? What if there is a path to ending the worst forms of evil that we have with us today? A path that will allow the meek to inherit the earth and be given the real power of an authentic democracy with next to no corruption. Think for yourself. What do you imagine when you look 300 or 500 years into the future? What about 1,000 or 10,000? Is it a dystopian nightmare filled with fear, secrecy, and suffering, or a utopia filled with peace, safety, and trust? Here I would like to explore a radical but deeply Christian idea. Imagine a community where trust, transparency, and accountability form the basis of our daily lives. A society where every action is live streamed, documented, and open for all to see, fostering an environment of social trust, mutual support, integrity, and genuine connection. Inspired by the teachings of Jesus Christ, I want to explore how such a society could be a modern-day kingdom of heaven on earth based upon Christian values. In this community, we would strive to build a better world where our faith is not just proclaimed, but lived out in every moment of the day in full view of everyone involved. This society could aim for personal growth, ethical living, truth, and the collective pursuit of a higher purpose for our lives. Its goal is to take concrete steps toward creating a world where we are united in our commitment to safety, trust, truth, and spiritual enrichment. But how can we make this happen? Imagine a society where everyone wears a small camera with a microphone attached to their person 24/7, storing the footage and making it publicly available, with reasonable exceptions for privacy concerns such as bathroom routines, intimate moments, and certain sports and physical activities such as swimming. I know that this might sound extreme and unrealistic, but the way I see it, it is the only way we can save the planet. The world is on its way to becoming a terrible place. The price of living is surging across the globe, crime is getting out of control, and human trafficking is the fastest growing illegal industry in the world, and child trafficking is a large part of it. This is something that must be stopped. The evil powers of this world are organizing themselves and standing together against the civilized world. Evil is growing extremely fast in our days, and it is up to each and every one of us to put a stop to it. And therefore, we have to aim at something larger than our individual desires. We humans always aim at something. I would suggest that today we can aim higher than ever before. We can aim for God's will to be done on earth as it is done in heaven, as it says in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Johann Valentine Andrei once said, "The best plan for a republic is one which agrees as nearly as possible with heaven." I think that this is profoundly true, and therefore I think we should try to make the earth as heaven-like as possible. And in this context, we can think of Luke 8:17 when it says, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." And Luke 12:2-3, where it says, "There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What you have said in the dark will be heard in the daylight, and what you have whispered in the air in the inner rooms will be proclaimed from the roofs." And Matthew 10:26 says, "There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs." And finally, Mark 4:21-23 says, "Do you bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed? Instead, don't you put it on its stand? For whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. If anyone has ears to hear, let them hear." I have taken these examples from the Gospels because if everything is going to be revealed to everyone in the end in any case, why should we hide it in this life? We all have shortcomings and have made many mistakes and sins. These sins everyone will have the opportunity to see in the afterlife, so what is the point of hiding them in this life? The relinquishment of privacy seems like such a small price to pay for the potential benefits that such a society could provide. If you believe that God sees everything you do, why should you be worried about the fact that other people also have that option? Seems trivial. Seems like if you have nothing to hide from God, you should have nothing to hide from man. And in most cases, if you can't do something in front of the whole world, you probably shouldn't do it in the first place. Therefore, I would argue that we should not hide anything in this life. We should live openly to everyone so that we have a much higher moral standard for ourselves and others. I know that there are many things in life that we would like to do in private, but imagine if there was a society where everyone filmed themselves almost 100% of the time, 24 hours a day. Think of how much sin we could avoid. Crime would virtually be eliminated. No one would be able to get away with anything. The only price is our privacy. So the question arises, how much is our privacy worth to us, and is it a price we can pay? Let me ask this in another way. If you were given the opportunity to save a child from being abused, but the price was your privacy, would you take it? Or if you could stop a child from being killed, but the price would be your privacy, would you do it? What about 100 children? Or 1,000? Somewhere in the world tonight, a child cries for help that never comes. A child whose suffering is hidden behind darkness, lies, and silence. A child who could have been protected if the truth had been visible, if evil people had nowhere left to hide. Most of us say we want a better world, but how far are we willing to go to create one? We are not discussing theory or philosophy here, we are discussing real lives. Think about the children who will be born 50 or 100 years from now. What kind of world will they inherit? A world ruled by secrecy and exploitation, or one shaped by truth and love? One where its citizens have decided that protecting even one child is worth every sacrifice. If everyone filmed themselves religiously, then the people with such evil intentions would not be able to get away with such heinous actions. It is certain that most people with evil intentions would not be interested in being a part of such a society. That way we could separate the metaphorical wheat from the chaff. Wouldn't such a society be the safest environment in the history of the world? How many murders, rapes, kidnappings, violent assaults, burglaries, or thefts would occur in a society under constant surveillance? You must understand that evil and sin can only live in the dark. It cannot survive in the light where everyone can see what is going on. Humanity has evolved in technology, medicine, and science, but not much has happened in relation to morality. Evil still spreads because we still live in the dark. Transparency is the key to bringing us into the light. What if the most important quest in modern life is the evolution of our morality? Think of all the sinful acts that take place in our society. Think of all the trauma that is inflicted on innocent people. We will have to do something drastic if we are going to end this. If we filmed ourselves, we would create an atmosphere of safety. We would show the world that we have no intention of committing anything sinful against anyone, ever, and do our best to ensure that no sin will be permitted in our presence. Whenever I watch the news and something terrible is done toward an innocent person, I often think to myself, this could have been avoided if we had all agreed to film ourselves 24/7. But we must remember that we also have shortcomings and a sinful heart. In Romans 7:14 through 25, Paul speaks of sin as something that dwells within us. We are all sinners, and many times we do the exact opposite of what our hearts tell us to do. Consider that our sinful actions can be compared to a mental illness. We are spiritually sick and in need of spiritual medicine. If you are deficient in vitamins, minerals, or other essential nutrients, you need to take supplements or medications or make a lifestyle change. Similarly, this way of life might be the cure for many of our spiritual ailments. A cure that can heal us of our selfish, deceptive, and dishonest attitudes toward life. This cure has the potential to heal both the individual as well as the society as a whole. It could represent the lifestyle change needed to supplement the ego in the decision-making process, ultimately leading to a better human experience. Think of all your personal experiences where others escaped accountability because their actions were not taken as seriously as you would have liked because of a lack of evidence. Think of all the actions you have committed in secret, believing that no one will ever find out. Reflect on all the violence, abuse, and hurtful lies that have thrived in secret. Imagine all the crimes that could have been prevented. Think of how much safer our society could become if we collectively decided that privacy was of lesser importance. Perhaps this is one way for us to pick up our cross and follow Jesus. Perhaps we should set everything aside to achieve such a society. In order to have the power to eradicate the many forms of evil that exist in the world today and to destroy them at their source, we must shine a light on them and expose them by filming them, so that those with malicious intent flee into the darkness where they try to hide their evil deeds. At the same time, as we shine a light on ourselves, we should be motivated to eradicate the evil, lazy, and selfish aspects of our own hearts and prevent these attitudes from taking root. Most of us would probably try harder to be better if we knew that all of humanity, or at least other members of the society, could see everything we do. It could demonstrate to the world that living in the metaphorical light of the Lord is the best way to pave a path for the next generation to follow. About 5% of the population exhibits some form of antisocial personality disorder or psychopathic tendencies. The good people of the world vastly outnumber them, but this advantage matters only if we unite. Otherwise, we risk being torn apart and consumed individually and collectively. For the first time in history, we have the opportunity to stand closer together than ever before, and it is up to the individual to take responsibility for a greater cause. This could give us a common goal that is far greater than our individual fantasies about what our lives should entail. And it is up to each and every one of us to lay the foundation for a better future for all of humanity. Now, imagine a gated community of 100,000 people where every resident records and live streams all their daily activities without pause. All members of this society would have access to these recordings, enabling everyone to see everything about each individual, including their activities on their phones, tablets, or computers, their earnings and how they spend their money, etc. Entry would only be permitted to those who adhere to this strict practice of complete transparency. Cameras and microphones would capture every moment on every street, in every workplace, business, shop, school, kindergarten, road, car, home, and any other space occupied by people. Furthermore, everyone in the community must voluntarily accept this complete abandonment of privacy for the sake of increasing social trust. In such a scenario, don't you think that people would be more respectful towards each other? That people would trust each other more since no one could get away with fraudulent behavior? That people would, in most cases, honor their agreements and be honest in their business dealings? Don't you think that such a local community would be a much friendlier, more neighborly place? Don't you think that such a society could virtually end crime? Even bullying could end. Don't you think that such a society, based on Christian values, could lead people to live a life without sin and spend more energy on helping others achieve salvation? Therefore, I would argue that we must sacrifice our privacy for the greater good. Almost everyone is on their best behavior when they know they are being watched. Most temptation to do sin is exacerbated when one feels that you can get away without being caught. Many people think that transparency is the end of freedom. But what if the opposite is true? What if living honestly, openly, and without fear is the greatest freedom we could ever have? We've been taught that privacy is sacred. But what if the true cost of privacy is suffering and corruption? What if the price of secrecy is the suffering of the vulnerable and the innocent? Modern surveillance is fragmented, unhelpful, and mostly only in the hands of the governments and big business. What if we chose to take control of the technology that already surrounds us and used it not for profit and control, but to create a more moral and safer society? We've built powerful technology, but we haven't given it a moral purpose. We have the tools necessary for stopping evil. Evil repeats itself, generation after generation. The same crimes, the same corruption, the same hidden darkness. But these cycles can be broken. Our greatest enemy isn't a nation, a group, or a person. It's the darkness inherent in the human soul. It's the darkness that exists in secrecy, unseen, unchallenged, unexposed. Here we have the opportunity to do something about this. Perhaps the future is not waiting to unfold on its own. Perhaps it is asking us to shape it. Perhaps it is asking us to become the light we wish to see in the world, to remove the shadows by refusing to hide in them. If Christ calls us into honesty, compassion, and courage, then let these be our tools. Let this be the generation that chooses truth over illusion, safety over secrecy, and love over fear. A place where transparency becomes a gift instead of a burden. We live in a time of mistrust. Mistrust in leaders, institutions, governments, and even each other. But that trust can be rebuilt, not through words, but through transparency. In the Gospels, Christ calls us into the light, to be the light of the world, not to shame us, but to free us. Imagine a world where that teaching becomes the foundation of how we live together. A world where love is protected, truth is practiced, and innocence is defended. That world begins with the decisions we make today. This is the first step toward making it a reality. If your heart aches for a safer world, for a more honest world where no child suffers in silence, then this vision is also yours. Change does not begin with governments or institutions. It begins with people whose compassion is stronger than their fear. The world is not lost yet. It can still be saved. We are the generation that can choose transparency over secrecy, compassion over indifference, and trust over convenience. If you have felt even a spark of hope during this message, then hold on to it. Let it grow. And together, let us build a world where light is not just a symbol, but a way of life. We may never see the full impact of the choices we make today, but future generations will live inside the world we build. If we choose courage, compassion, and honesty now, our children and grandchildren may inherit a society free from the worst evils that haunt humanity. This vision is not just for us. It is for them, for those yet born, for the innocent. Today we can plant the seeds. Tomorrow the next generation can sit in the shade of the trees. A utopia cannot appear on its own. It must be crafted by the choices of people who believe the world can be better than it is. If we long for a society free from sin, then we must begin by transforming how we live today. Not perfectly, but faithfully. Not alone, but together. Humanity has stumbled for centuries because we hide our failures and fears in the dark. But if we walk together in openness, we can transform everything that surrounds us. Transparency is not a punishment. It is a path to healing, a path to redemption, a path to becoming the people God created us to be. Let us build a world where truth is not a threat but a sanctuary, where trust replaces suspicion and love replaces fear. In the end, every society is a reflection of the hearts that built it. If our hearts choose openness, trust, and accountability, then what grows from them will resemble the very peace Christ promised. Together we can change the world. Not someday, not in theory, but now, through those who dare to live visibly, humbly, and together. This is how a new chapter begins. Maybe, if we dare to dream, the kingdom of heaven may be closer than we think. We stand at a crossroad between a world that is slowly tightening its grip around us and a world that will set us all free. If we choose to live in the light, evil loses its power over us. The choice is not easy, but it is sacred. If you believe, like I do, that humanity can rise above its failures and build something worthy of God's vision for mankind, then let us align ourselves with what is true rather than with what is convenient. We can do this. We can save the world. We can make sure that the meek inherit the earth. Let us accept the consequences of choosing the light over darkness, choosing integrity over comfort, bear the weight required for a truthful world, break the patterns that have kept humanity divided, lose the selfish desires of the flesh, and refuse all participation in the machinery of corruption and sin. Let us ensure that future generations inherit a world free from the darkness that harms the innocent, and collectively let us fly under the same banner, the banner of truth, the banner of the kingdom of heaven. Thank you for watching. If you are interested, I have made a longer video that goes into more detail on my channel. Link is in the description. Just keep in mind that had I done it today, I would have done it differently. But I think it gets the point across. And remember, the truth shall set you free.